also do it like that. Yeah, I already introduced myself. So I'm Maria Wagner. I'm the managing director of the Sustainable Games Alliance. We are a non-profit cooperative of several different game studios. Yeah, okay, nice. Yeah. And yeah, what I wanted to say is I'm not here just to basically give a speech only for the planet. I really love the games industry and love games, and this is like why I'm doing it. I really believe that emission reduction really helps the games industry also to be better, to mature as an industry and to innovate. And this is like one of the reasons why yeah, we founded the Sustainable Games Alliance. Yeah, this is, by the way, a photo of me driving a bus to Helsinki yesterday and today. But anyway, so our goal is to make games the most sustainable form of entertainment. And as said, I believe it's not only good for the environment, but I also think this will make your games more competitive and will give you also a competitive advantage. A little bit of my background, because like so I'm a German Russian. So when we talk about like responsibility and difficult backgrounds, so this is me. I'm born in Kazakhstan. I wanted to say that because basically where I was growing up, I saw this, like the biggest open cast mining pit in the world. And I wanted to say that, okay, so the open cast mine was called Bogatyr mine. And this mine got like an entry in the world, how do you say it? Guinness Book of World Records for being the biggest one. So like, as far as you can see, you could see this mine. And why was it there? Because of course we need energy as people, right? So, okay. Wait. So energy doesn't come out of a socket only, right? Because like sometimes I talk to developers, and many people forget that the energy which we need to play games needs to be produced somewhere. And there is a lot of conversations about, yeah, renewables coming up, and it's true, it's getting more and more traction, especially as they are less expensive compared to fossil fuels. But if you look at the current distribution of where the energy is coming from worldwide, we are still using a lot of fossil fuel energy. And it's slowly getting better, but it's like really like, so if you see the distribution, we still have only a little bit of solar and wind, like the rest is fossil fuel. And the thing is also, we need more and more energy. So this is like a quote from the International Energy Agency. They basically called out the new age of electricity. So the demand is rising, and yeah, the sources are not getting only greener. Like we still keep using fossil fuels. And the problem is also that because of all the emissions, we need more electricity, because we need more electricity to have like air conditioning, and like we have more data centers which needs to be powered. So this is something which is, yeah, like happening, which we need to address as an industry. Okay, that was fun. Come back. Wait, this clicker is all over the place. Wait. Sorry. Try. We jumped a lot of Okay, yeah, this is where I wanted to continue. So here you can see that we definitely have more renewables coming up. But as said before, we still use a lot of fossil fuels to generate electricity. And also, electricity generation is one of the biggest sources of emissions, like worldwide. Yeah, sorry if I'm not saying like anything new here, but I just think it's important to say. And of course, your games are played by people worldwide. So I think it's important to know that, of course, if you run a studio in like Finland, for example, your studio will be most likely on like greener energy. But like if you're your game is played worldwide, and depending on the the location of your players, your game can generate a lot of emissions. I mean, of course, as an indie, when your game is not played by so many people, it will be still like most of your emissions will be the ones which you're as a studio causing. But as soon as your game is getting played by a lot of people, and of course, here again, depending on if it's a mobile game or a PC game, this makes a huge difference. And many times, developers are not thinking about that. Yeah, and as already said before, this of course has impacts on your operations. So the more emissions we emit, the worse it basically gets. Also, like because we need then more energy to stabilize the business what we have. So we need more energy to, for example, cool the servers if it gets warmer. We need like the electricity also gets more expensive, and this again has impacts on your business. Yeah, so higher development costs basically. And the interesting thing is that, like in the reports of big corporates, you can already see these topics popping up, like more and more. So here we see the report of Take-Two. The same you can see in reports of CD Projekt Red and Rovio and so on, where they basically clearly state that climate change, but also especially like energy, is something which is and will affect the business and is a business risk basically, and something we need to take a closer look. Yeah, so here just like two quotes from the Take-Two report from 2024. It basically says that you need to take care of your suppliers and partners. You need to check how how much energy are they using. Is this something which will affect your business long term? Where are your servers? Like all of this is something which companies need to think about. And I mean, if we talk about players, of course, it will also affect your players, because if your development costs are higher and if you, basically don't know like how your expenses will rise, it will also affect your game development and your players. But of course, it will also affect your players directly in a way that their costs for playing your game will be higher because they have to charge their devices, they have to power their devices. And of course, the same also like with climate change, if their house is flooded and so on, they most likely won't play the game. So when we think about energy efficiency, we definitely should also think about like the players playing the game. And what it also means, like for them, if you make your game more energy efficient, it means that for handheld devices, you can extend their battery lifetime. which has direct positive effects on like how long they can play your game. And like there are many studios paying a lot of money for user acquisition. And if you think about like games which are not energy optimized, they basically lose players because they're running out of battery. And this is something which like many developers still don't think about. And yeah, I think it's like a very important topic. And then of course, if your game is running on like less energy than others, it can run on older devices compared to others. So if you can play a game on a potato, you will reach way more players basically compared to games which need a lot of power and yeah, like a lot of computational power. Since it should be interactive, I'm not a developer, so I don't know. Like, are you guys familiar with that? Are you thinking about it? Anyone? Maybe you don't have to, but in case, yeah. So yeah, and I mean, of course. So like in the end, if you make your game more energy efficient, the probability that it will be played by more people is higher because you don't need to buy the newest device, and also you help them to reduce their energy bills. And this is something what a lot of industry leaders already realized and are optimizing for. So I have like 2 quotes here. Basically here, Ari saying that it is a competitive advantage and is something that players, that developers should look at and should directly look more into. Here I have Lauren from Unity saying the same thing. The like why I'm standing here is that at the moment it's still kind of a niche topic. I mean, a lot of companies are optimizing their games, but energy efficiency as a topic is still quite niche. And what we with the Sustainable Games Alliance want to do is we want to make it like a standardized topic, something what you as a developer, basically when you build your game, this should be on your agenda right away. And it should be on your agenda in a way that you have the data and you see it like right away if your game is energy efficient or not. Because like at the moment, it's quite hard for developers to think about it and to have it on their agenda because it's hard to measure it. And what we want to change is that we want to implement it into like engines and platforms and so on. Valtteri. We have time.
You couldn't go further up if you tried.
I like to see you walk. Now, where was I? So yeah, I believe it's a question of framing. So yeah, I believe that studios do think about these things more than what they might even consider themselves, just in different terms. So my anecdote was that we at Cyan Games made a feasibility study about an HPV-themed game for sub-Saharan Africa, and technical feasibility was a huge chunk of that entire study, like connectivity, device space, access to electricity, like very, very basic things.
Yeah.
And it's something that we really need to consider when launching a game in that environment. So definitely thinking about these things, not just in the, we don't have the title energy efficiency in the study, but this like it's being considered. So I'm just thinking that it's important to think about all the different possible frameworks in which energy efficiency is actually already kind of a part of, but not just explicitly mentioned. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that developers are optimizing like their code and their game. What I would love to see it being like more systematic, and in a sense that the benefits of optimizing for energy efficiency, that they should be like more evident, basically, because at the moment it's still like something on the side and something which, yeah, I kind of have the feeling needs to be still like figured out. Yeah, so I'm not a developer again, but I still wanted to present you some case studies which our community identified, which you can hopefully like look at maybe also later on. We have a bunch of meetups where these case studies are explained more specifically. Okay, I just list them all. I don't know why it's like listing one by one, because I just wanted to have it. Okay, so if you want, take a screenshot, because like it's like a really good overview. I will go one by one example like now. And also please feel free, again, I'm not a developer. If you want to jump in and to give an intro on one of the specific examples, please do so.
I have a mic to bring to you. So those who do want to give a comment or so at any moment, please raise your hand and I'll come.
Okay. Should I wait? Maybe I, yeah.
I will go through. You know, these 2 days, well, this week I didn't really go to gym. This is amazing. So I can do now this.
Happy to be of assistance. Okay. So one thing that I would like to point out to the previous slide, which was mostly about technical solutions, I would like to introduce design solutions. And that is like, what I mean by that is a lot of game studios have been engaged in a sort of arms race to raise visual fidelity as a means of increasing player satisfaction. And that has led to the idea that new games must always look better than previous games. And that is a pressure that is coming from the consumer side to game studios. And we cannot change that with technical means. We can only change that by making visual fidelity not as desirable, by making games that show that games can be great without high fidelity visuals. And that is something that designers can change, that programmers cannot change.
This is actually like a very interesting topic, because I would love to know where are you getting this like information that players really want that and are looking for it? Because like I also can see that there are a lot of nice games out there which have like a potato graphic design. I mean, look at Minecraft and have players. So is this something which is like real? Or is this something what also the developers still believe in? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it is real, but that is how a lot of game studios see the world. They think that it's real.
Yeah, we are gonna. I was just about to say, arms up. Who wants to give a comment? Good too.
Nice.
I'll also give a comment as a game designer. so basically, I see that definitely in, let's say, higher budget studios. Let's not label per se. So that is something that mostly, again, when the biz devs are more in charge of the design than the team. Like that's my observation. I'm not saying this is the way, but that's kind of, so basically, because absolutely that's not it. And we can see even with, depending on the audience, some audience really wants greedy and kind of like graphics that are out of the formula. But we're talking about most of that is really, really part of the bigger production, which again, designers are not deciding any, or team developers decide nothing. So who was, sorry, where were,
Yeah, like as Natasha was saying, most of the time. So I think there's not a confusion, but it's not up to designers to choose the art direction. Our job is to make rules. Like artists can participate in the art direction, but usually it's a director that is choosing, and that director, usually in bigger studios especially, has to obey senior management basically. So it's not that it's a reality that every artist or a designer out there wants to go for realistic. It's just especially in the 2000s, there was that race to performance and displaying things to a better extent. Like we've seen the failure of Final Fantasy Advent Children, that was trying to be so accurate and like so perfect, and the spirit within before. Like I think most designers would love to work on games that are a bit stronger as far as art direction goes. But most of the time, when you work AAA, we still have the legacy of the hyper realism race of the past 20 years. I think it's shifting slowly, like to something that is more semi-realistic, thanks to Dark Souls, among other things. But yeah, it's not up to designers to choose that. And as a side comment, I think programmers can actually help reduce the costs of doing that through tech art and through a lot of different techniques for optimization.
Hello, Veli-Pekka from Critical Force. So we are developing mobile multiplayer shooter game, and we constantly see feedback and comparison from players that, oh, your game looks shit, Call of Duty Mobile looks much better, your graphics is shit, and so on. So there's certain amount of players who desire nice looking graphics. I don't know how big part is from the community, but there definitely are players who like more realistic style graphics than others. Sorry. In my opinion, gameplay is the most important thing. It doesn't matter how the graphics looks like, but there's some kind of certain attitude that everything should look as good as possible, and that of course brings pressure to the game developers making more high fidelity graphics also on mobile. But there are also good examples like what was the name of the game? It was Battlefield with the blocky graphics, Battlebit. So that also shows that you can be successful without so great graphics.
Yeah, Fortnite indeed. There could be also a thing. There is a lot of throughout, especially from 2000s. One thing that one can recognize is the influence of the movie industry with the cutscenes and everything. That now that became a thing in games, even in and then from there, the also higher graphics performance issue and then but now it became kind of like now it's expected from the players from certain titles. I'm talking about certain kind of titles. Yes.
Thank you. I'm Chris from Blind Burners, and I do love this questioning of the dominance of visual sophistication. And so in that sense, seeing an allyship between the accessibility movement and the environmental movement, I do love that. I wanted to ask, have you heard of a company called Gecko? They're a startup that they say we're building the industry's first suite of tools that empowers developers to automatically boost performance while reducing production costs, timelines, and carbon emissions. The founder does really high-end Unreal development, and he's very much, I know him a little bit, he's very much driven by environmental concerns.
Yeah. Awesome.
Gecko,
I mean, would love to connect.
Any other hands up, just to double check from this topic? Because we have really good question in the chat, so if we can go.
Yeah.
Especially now as this morning, Musk and his Musky friends have announced the AI fully generated company thing. So that's going to be fun. Anyway, I mean, it's a bucket of popcorn time anyway when you watch everything on news nowadays. What is your opinion on the environmental damage done by Gen AI LLMs? More data centers are continuously built and they affect the immediate area they're built in. For example, their water supply. LLMs are being pushed to the game industry and would wish it would be noted in the standard. Many conversations with Gen AI focuses on copyright, which shouldn't ignore, obviously, but many forget to avoid talking about the environmental impact. And I can tell you that this is something from the artists also that has been really like this sort of environmental issues with it, even with just thanking ChatGPT kind of as a part of its long-term effect. As now, especially as there are this whole specific groups of developers who want to have fully AI generated games and what in every single aspect. What are your thoughts, if nothing, or also for the whole audience? This is more interactive, so please feel free. I will stand up and keep an eye on arms, but please, Maria, if you have.
Actually, we had like a meetup, I think, like two months ago on the topic of AI and games, and I mean, of course, there like the emissions of the games industry, especially like if you look at the emissions of Microsoft, you can see when AI became a thing like right away. And the thing is that like what we as Sustainable Games Alliance do is we don't want to forbid companies to do anything. We want to find ways to do it like more responsibly, because like we need data and numbers to assess. And I mean, AI like used stupidly will definitely increase or is increasing emissions in a crazy amount at the moment.
Yeah, and also at the roundtable, I have to say at Pocket Gamer, when we're talking about game AI in the age, game art in the age of AI, this was one of the things that also being labels, like we have organic stuff in shops and whatnot, that there would be labels of what kind of technologies, meaning mostly AI now, would be on the specific packages. So kind of this is done with free range coders and ethically sourced art and blah, blah. At least Mytel is going to have that in our
I mean, the crazy thing is that currently the games industry does not know its own emissions. We like, aside from like AI, which just like came up and which we definitely should address and are like addressing, it's just we in general, before again like jumping on this newest topic, we should think as an industry, how can we look at emissions and sustainability in a more systemic way, that it's not something like the pioneers of one specific studio do, but like how do we address this topic as like an industry? And I think that's what we do with the Sustainable Games Alliance and the standard, that we basically say we need to work together as an industry to understand the emissions. Because like if you look at the value chain of a game, it's so complex. There are so many different parts in it. So if we don't address it like systematically, it will be hard for one developer trying to do like a more sustainable game to do it. And also like when it comes to labeling, if you cannot measure something, it will be just greenwashing. So yeah.
Thanks for those points that are super valid. I would like to touch on another problem that Gen AI is creating that is actually that might on the longer run also affect sustainability, and that's the diminishing trust amongst people working together, which in turn will, in my opinion, like make work time longer. So increasing the energy costs on the longer run of what we're doing, because recent studies have shown that a decreasing amount of trust between coworkers, because we can recognize AI slop now, and that is already starting to affect collaboration. Then you have MIT that has like said that 80% of AI in companies is not working, and so again we get back into the same tech bro sphere that had the problem with NFT. Like, oh, there's that new tech, we don't know what to do about it, but use it. And the developers, like people on the floor, know that we should not like progress for the pure progress doesn't work. And Gen AI is creating the same issue. Like there are topics where I think it can help, indeed, like for aggregating information and this type of things. But to be fair, we don't need Gen AI. We had machine learning 15 years ago, and it worked just fine. It just required more training from the company perspective, so basically what large language models are doing is just outsourcing that training to some extent. But the human and ecological cost of this is just immense. And I think we're going to see very fast the consequences of that. But people at the top don't seem to realize it.
Yeah, I mean, investors also, maybe not, but yeah. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, talking about the tech. So as Natasha told, so at the Pocket Game we saw this kind of tech. No generative AI used in this game, and it came because many players started to hate games which use generative AI. Similarly, as a couple of years ago, they hate games that were NFT games. So I think there is meaning with this tag. It's like food that no chemicals used or something like that. So there are a certain amount of people who appreciate that. Of course, it's always the competitive edge of the companies. How can you produce games more efficiently? And as you know, especially China is pushing hard nowadays, also the West. So there's lots of Chinese games played in the West, and they are in the top crossing charts. So, and they don't care so much about the environment, honestly said. So the movement has to start from the players in the West and spread that little by little to the East also, that they also understand.
I mean, I think an important topic here is like transparency, because like for the consumers, in the end, if they buy a game at the moment, they don't know kind of what they buy. Of course, if it's like eating up the energy of their phone or like the PC, they will realize it, but like they don't see it right away. So this is something what we as an industry can change and set standards and create more transparency. But I mean, what I also wanted to say is that at the moment, like there are many low-hanging fruits which the industry has not addressed. So even if we look at very like nicely looking games, there are many low-hanging fruits and many examples what developers can do to reduce the energy use of their game and optimize without like making it visible basically to the players, in a sense that the player experience only gets better by doing this. And I would love to like just go quickly through the examples because yeah, just maybe. So there are more and more games with eco modes, which basically enables like the players to choose between like what mode they want to play, and most of the time the difference is not visible, especially like depending on the device they're playing. They don't see like a visual difference between the eco mode and the like full blasting mode, let's say. And this is something which is more and more like a trend, just because it enables also players to play longer, especially for handheld devices. This is a thing. One example is like Fortnite and how like they reduced the frame rates when the game was like not played in menu screens. This is something which like helped them to save bunch of energy, because like if you think of how many players are playing the games, it is a thing. So you don't need to run your game like with 60 frames per second if the screen is paused. And this is something which really makes a huge difference also for your players. And of course, if this is something which is real, you can prove it scientifically, you can use that then also to communicate to your players. And again, I'm not a developer. Like, we have sessions going really into detail, into the technical detail, how you do that. But in the end, it's like you measure the energy use and then you find ways to reduce the energy usage. And of course, frame rates are a thing, and resolution is something you can play off. But like, if you, like, a lot of players keep their game in like the pause screen and the menu screen. And this is something which doesn't need to run full blast. Like, you can also reduce the resolution while the game is paused, because like many times people just let the music play and go and do something else. And yeah, this is like a time where we can save power, basically. So Epic Games has like a white paper on all kinds of energy optimizations. Check it out. Yeah, this is a thing. Yeah, you, as said, like, it doesn't need to be very complicated. You can just like use a power meter and figure out, like, basically if you adapt your game, especially for PC and console games, you can measure it with a normal power meter. With mobile games, it becomes a little bit more difficult, but for that, you also have like apps. Yeah.
Yes, I have a question regarding a bit about this. Do we have any good like research studies on what type of games that actually is most or least energy efficient? Of course, I would assume like performance is important, and if you have a very heavy 3D focused game, it might be drain more energy than maybe a simplistic 2D game, I would assume. But then again, it's a lot of other things also goes into it. I would assume that platform is important, and other aspect of the games. Do we have good research on that, and how is that looking at the moment?
I mean, this is one of the reasons why we developed the standard, because like first we as an industry needed to establish a common way of measuring it, because there are so many platforms and things involved. And then again, what does energy efficiency mean for a game? Because of course, if you have like a shooter game, of course it will need way more energy than a puzzle game, for example. So what we do at the moment is we try to have like different game genres and try to develop benchmarks for different game genres. But this is something, because it's highly political, we need to agree on this stuff as an industry, because like, what is a optimized game, right? If the game genre is a different one. But like, yeah, so this is the current state. Yeah. Maybe.
We should get the throwing mic. Do you think I can throw? I can only throw on the controller. Like, no.
Thank you. This question about different game genres and different power consumption is very interesting, because it seems like that way from the outside, but as a programmer who does a lot of optimization, genre doesn't matter. From a like a programming perspective, from a development perspective, there's this kind of rule of thumb that do not optimize in advance. Don't waste your effort on things that may not be relevant in the future. No matter what game genre you're developing, you only optimize if it doesn't run well enough. And then you optimize only enough that it runs at your target frame rate. So it is very easy and very fast to make games that perform poorly. And That just means that a genre that doesn't have a lot of visual fidelity, you can make the game faster, but it will still consume the same amount of energy because you're just skipping the optimization part because you don't have to do that.
I mean, but that's why I think it would be interesting to have like benchmarks for energy usage of games, because like then at least you can compare the energy usage of like similar games with your competitors.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I suspect that we will see that all genres consume the same amount of energy.
I mean, we have first testings, and no, it's crazy to see that some games are so badly programmed. Like it's there is a huge difference. I don't like I don't know, like don't you have it like if you're traveling and you're playing a game on your laptop, that some games are just killing your battery right away and others don't? Like yes, yeah. I mean, there is a huge difference, but that's what I mean. A lot of people don't know that there are so many low-hanging fruits and games which we still can optimize. Valtteri, or yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I'm just interested, is this actually dependent on genre or whether the game was programmed well or not? Because those things aren't the same thing.
Yeah, no, it's not because of the genre. It was because like the game was programmed in a like less optimized way. But within the genre, like if you would compare again like a shooter game where you have like a lot of things happening compared to like a puzzle game where you basically can use almost like 2D, the energy use will be a way different one.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
Sorry.
going to Valtteri. You can totally, Maria, go for it. But I have to say,
Let me wait. Let me.
there was also, yeah, good.
I do this one first.
Hey, so my question was that you stated that your association wants to make games the most energy efficient entertainment, sustainable. How do games compare to movies, TV series, streaming shows? If you have this data yet or any guesses?
So the thing is that the games industry did not have a standard. Like the first one we released just like 2 days ago, basically, and because of that, we don't have data. We at the moment have the estimate that the games industry is using 50 to 100 million tons of CO2, which is equal to Sweden or Norway's emissions. But compared to other entertainment industries, we are really at the first step. The movie industry, they have their standard. Even I mean, all the other entertainment industries have a way of measuring their impact. Now we have one as well, but we are really at the start when it comes to this conversation.
Yeah. So my comment was about like this whole complexity of both consumer attitude and developer attitude, and these real world factors that drive these attitudes. So like what Aki mentioned earlier about for what do you actually optimize? What are the constraints that you are looking at as a developer? And like taking this to the consumer point of view, this also relates to like why are or who is actually pushing for the high fidelity graphics and why. This has to do a lot with how games are considered as pure entertainment, and like something pleasure that you want to maximize and make it as immersive and awesome as possible. And this also relates to how device manufacturers kind of market their own stuff. This new iPhone yada 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 came out. Now you can have this previous experience even more immersive, and there's more power and more things at your hand. And then obviously software goes hand in hand with hardware, and there's all these synergies in marketing and so on. We've never learned to think about pleasure as something that you would actually optimize in terms of like environment or stuff like that. It's more about like just going for the maximum that you can get out of it. Like if I'm having a night out with my friends, I'm not counting the calories. It's the same mindset in a way. But now that games are everywhere and we play them all the time, there needs to be an attitude shift in a way that how we consider that it's so casual that we shouldn't be thinking about it as like maximizing the pleasure at all the time.
I mean, I also think that it actually goes along with do you maximize the pleasure if you have to buy a new device like every second year? Like, who has the money to buy these new devices? I mean, aside from all the environmental costs of producing new hardware, like to whom are these games accessible? And yeah, because I think the cycles of new hardware are getting shorter and shorter, and I at least have the feeling that we peaked. Like, how far can we go, and does it still make sense?
I totally agree, but that's how the consumerism is fueled still today, and like that's I'm just trying to point out that this is where the focal point of like that social change, I believe, should be.
Yeah, I mean, I think this kind of ties into like when the former speaker was talking about hope. I mean, this is something the industry can change. You know, like it is something you can define, and also like the consumers can define in a way that they say, okay, maybe I cannot afford new hardware again. I will play games which I can play with the devices I have at home. And this will be a competitive advantage for the developers which develop games which work on more and older devices, where basically, yeah, players and developers can go hand in hand and support each other.
So I have a just random reflection now. I just remembered a course that I had at the university over 10 years ago where we looked into energy consumption of online ads on the websites, which also combined with what you were talking about now about buying new hardware and mobile games, for example. Sometimes I play mobile games with ads, and then I see comments on the App Store about like, this game is shit. It overheats my device. And I feel like that is also like a concern in mobile gaming, especially the games which are powered by ads. So I was just wondering if you have any comments on that.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. This goes exactly into the direction I was talking about. Like, of course, if for handheld devices, it is the worst because like players just won't play your game because of like if your phone gets hot, or some games are not even like you cannot play them on certain devices because they cannot handle it. So we don't have data on like heating up devices and players not playing it, but we hope to get this data soon. Like, so we are able to really say you lost X players because they run out of battery.
Oh, so the question was about the ads.
Yes. So I only can say that like when it comes to emissions, ads cause, especially in bigger companies like, for example, Ubisoft, 20% of their emissions. So they are a big part. And when it comes to energy usage, of course, as well. Yeah. And here the question would be again, like, who's responsible for it, right?
I have a question for that, but mostly to the audience. So, and please also online audience, I think you don't see me, but you can hear me. So how many CTOs we have in the house, or any kind of leads on the technical side? Responsibility in this from the tech leads and CTOs to create these standards within their teams and educate their developers, doesn't matter what kind of engines they use, so that they don't have to become a software. Because that's the thing, I fully understand. I have two developers in my team who don't want to deal with that software stuff, but they will do whatever our CTO says. So the point is that I think we should really assist these kind of leads and decision makers within the tools and optimization, all of that, so that they can adjust. So we have better optimized and better done games, not just for shipping in time, but for this longer effect of the game. So again, hot take on this. But I wanted to, the reason why I was asking, like, if someone besides, of course, Aki, has, and I know Joni wants to give a moment of comment, so I will come there. But I'm just like, any other thoughts on this? Because I see now from this discussion today, this came to me like, hey, this is what CTOs should have on their table.
I mean, I fully agree. And I mean, this is also one of the reasons why we created the standard, because like we believe it is something we can address together with better data, and it should be on the management level, you know, and in basically all the platforms and the engines you use. So it is in there automatically. It's not something that you don't have to put on your own power meter, but that you basically can see it in your statistics while you're developing, that you, for example, use way more energy compared to other developers of this genre. But
yeah, well, yeah, it's not that I didn't have enough shame of just staying alive, but like I realized I'm part of the problem, because one role I've taken in the Espoo Game Lab is to tell the programmers that do more shitty code, because the big problem with the game is, and game programming, is that people optimize wrong things before the game is even done. And that was the thing that made me puzzled here. That's should I change my message? But also like, yeah, like I'm talking from the indie and like a bootstrapping perspective. But also there, I think their simple solution is to put that in the backlog, like after the release. Like if your game sells more, you should actually optimize the power consumption and all that kind.
I mean, I fully understand. Like indie developers should focus on getting their game out. Like, and that's why I see most of the responsibility at the platforms and the engines table, because it just makes way more sense if you have it integrate. Like imagine if you would have it in your engine's dashboard and it would show it right away to you, and you would just click a button and say, okay, optimize. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is that what Johanna just said is about, I also see no problem, and we do so much shitty code in prototyping, when you are just figuring out what is it. But when you have a design in place and you know what you're going to do, because that's not what anyone sees or touches. Otherwise, like, of course, same like game jam games. So for MVP that your startups are doing, I see no problem. But the moment they're actually creating something as a product, it goes out of the prototyping stage, they should be considering it already. There was a hand, yes. I will need a wave support through here to get there, right?
Yes, hi. A few of the things that I wanted to say were just addressed in a way, but it is true that without the help of the engines, it's going to be really hard for a lot of developers, because, as mentioned earlier, a lot of the people in the indie scene are just storytellers, or they make interactive stories. They don't necessarily come from a programming background or a developer background per se. So without help from the engines, it will be almost unfeasible for the really small studios to consider this, because they just don't have the know-how. And then the cost of getting that know-how into your team is just disproportionate, considering the scope of your product, basically.
Yeah, I fully understand that. I mean, what is important though, that the engines know that you have this need. Because like when we talk to engines, they want to see that developers want to have these tools. They want to have this information in the dashboards. So yeah.
We have a question from Indonesia. So big shout out, please, and clap for Andy from Cube Studio, please. The true power of accessible conference right here. So Hi, sustainable games is such a cool topic. I'm Andy from Cube Studio, a small startup from Indonesia working in AR, VR, and simulation. Sorry if this was already mentioned, my connection's been a bit choppy. I'm curious if there is a way yet to measure the carbon footprint of player behavior like playtime, digital transactions, or especially cloud gaming, and how sustainably standards could reflect that.
Yeah, check out the our website and the sustainable game standard. So we have basically different components of the standard which show you like what you can measure. I can jump to that like after that basically.
Wonderful.
But yeah, it's possible now, and we keep developing the standard, but you can use the Excel sheets we have and the description to measure it, at least to a certain degree, because we don't have all the data, because platform, we still need to get some of the data, but you get far. Okay, I will just go through the examples, because like I think they're really, really good. And yeah, like at least that you have something to think about, or what you may adapt also in your games. So this is like the example of For Honor, a game by Ubisoft, and they implemented an eco mode, which basically, yeah, plays a little bit with frame rate, but also resolution. And like Call of Duty, same. You can see here the different like eco mode states, like one at full blast, then one in the like minimal version, and then the eco mode. And actually, like if you see them, of course, depending on your screen, but there is almost no difference. And I think this is like what is really, really important. Sometimes you can improve energy efficiency really without compromising the player experience at all. You improve it because like you reduce the sounds of the hardware, the cooling sounds and so on. So this is, I think this is like important to say, that many times when we talk to developers about energy efficiency, a lot of developers think that it will have negative effects on the players, but it's not. It's not like that. There are so many low-hanging fruits which developers do not think of what they can do, which will help with energy efficiency and actually even improve the player experience. Again, we have all of these examples on our website with real developers explaining them. So I just, like I said, like quickly want to go through it. So I think I already said that before. So one big power saver is, of course, also the pausing screen. If your players are not playing the game, maybe it shouldn't render in the background. So when you have a pausing screen, yeah, don't render the game in the backend. What Halo also did is they reduced so like the background is not a 3D background anymore. When you pause, it's just like a standing screen. Wait up. Which helped them to like save a lot of power, and they reduced the resolution. And it helped to save a lot of power in comparison. So, so Unreal actually also helps you with that. Yeah, like there is like a mode which you can figure out how to basically see when the game is paused, and yeah, like recognizing that and going into the, like changing the way you render the game or what you show on the screen. Wait, this is the pausing screen example, like switching from 3D to 2D, so that you basically just have like the figure in the front, And wait, here you can see the power usage histogram of the different examples, one with a 3D background and one with a 2D background. Of course, it makes a difference, and especially for like the menu, this is like a good way to save energy. Screen dimming, also a thing. Yeah, don't want to say more to that. I think it's quite self-explanatory. If you don't blast the screen, it might help save energy. If your game is not played and basically you notice that, yeah, it's no one is active at the game, maybe just dim the screen. It helps. Yeah, power saving on mobile. Wait. Yeah, there is like a mode in Unity and Unreal which basically checks what the power, the battery, what the battery level is, and enables like a power saving mode. This is something what yeah, is available in Unity and in Unreal. So yeah, make use of that. Yeah. Yeah, here's the stuff. As again, I just wanted to show that I'm not a developer, but like we have the description of all of these examples and also meetups on specifically these topics on our website. Please use it. Yeah, and another example is, again, when your players are not engaged, just yeah, adapt accordingly, change the like how your game is running. Like here you see a difference of active gameplay within Minecraft, then the controller disconnected stage, so like a stage where you think maybe the player is still there, but not away from the screen. And then the last one when it's quite clear that no one is there anymore. And yeah, like the different adaptations. And here, like one example, basically saying that there are a lot of developers which basically can say that when they had to optimize for energy, it helped them to make their game better. Another thing is, so here again, I won't go into a lot of detail, but this is a really good example of a game where Torbjörn, who we will also have like a meetup with, he coded the to like the monitoring of heat into their engine, and it helped them to optimize their game a lot, and it also helped them to yeah, with improving the player experience. If you want to know more about this, please visit our meetup on the 4th of December. The meetups are for free, by the way, and accessible to anyone. It will be also recordings available. Okay, and of course the question is then here again, which engine do you use then? We think that in the future this will be kind of a really big competitive advantage. So that there is like a paper on the different like engines and the different states if you want to have like more information on that. And now I hope, yeah, now we come to a topic what I like where I can actually say more about. So and what we are also working on. I just wanted to say to really make a change, we need comparable data and more transparency. Because like at the moment, basically any company can say whatever they want about their game and also how they run their business. And to change that, we need comparable data and this comparable data will also give us the possibility to innovate, because like if developers get access to better data faster and don't need to spend a lot of time and like their team resources to be more energy efficient, then we can enable like energy efficiency for the whole industry on a different level. I mean, this is also like one of the reasons we had like at PGC, for example, like a panel where you can see basically representatives of the whole industry. I just wanted to strengthen here, we need to work together as an industry to achieve this, because it won't work if we don't agree on sharing specific data and making it more visible. So here you can see like Jipe from EGDF, basically the representative of several local game associations which want to have better data and transparency. We have a service provider. Second stage, they want to make emissions data available to their clients, that basically clients can see right away how much emissions will the different campaigns cost. And they can basically choose, okay, do I choose to run my campaign on this platform or on that platform, depending on the emissions, but of course also the outcome. But at least having this data available will help the game companies make better decisions. Then we have Tommy, who's basically also saying, yeah, we need better data. We need this data available on the platforms and within the engines. So they don't need to spend a bunch of time calculating and finding it out themselves, but just having it available for everyone. And then also, yeah, being able to compare. Because of course, if a company does better, spend a bunch of money to be more sustainable, but then other greenwash and say kind of the same, we do not have like a competitive advantage. So like with more transparency, there will be also a competitive advantage for being more sustainable. And again, so the Sustainable Games Alliance, like we are working on this. We just released the standard. We need more companies and members who support what we're doing, because it's way easier to convince platforms and engines to implement these tools if they see there is a need for it and like developers want to see that. So these are all of our members so far. We exist since like 1 year. Yeah, thank you so much also to We Love Games, also being a partner, and Psyon Games. So woo, yeah, really like huge thanks to all of these members to like for all the support and also the work on the standard. As said, like we released the standard 2 days ago at the Leadership Day. I'm really happy about it. Also, like this is also one of the reasons why I'm so tired. But we got coverage in like 17 different media outlets worldwide, actually also in Indonesia and Mexico, but also like on the normal ones like GamesBeat and Games Industry Biz. So please go on our website, use the standard, and if you can, become a member and support us. For like little studios, it's like really just 1K. If you're an association, it's 500 euros. But more important, if you don't have the money to join, use the knowledge which is on our website. Use the best practices which we put out there, and yeah, like visit us on LinkedIn, participate in the meetups. Yeah.
And
Sorry?
the Discord.
Yeah, join the Discord. Exactly. Yeah, this is basically just like to summarize what the standard enables you to do. It helps you to measure and report the emissions, because like we thought it's way easier for a smaller studio to just use a framework instead of like researching one and finding a way how to report it, to just have like one unified framework so that data is comparable and freely available. Like this is so important. Like there are so many calculators and so on out there, but this framework is freely available for everyone to use. You don't have to pay for it, just go on it. And if you have problems using it, let us know, we help. And we will also have examples. And this one will also help you to optimize your games. And as soon as we get also more data from platforms and hardware developers, it will really help to innovate your games in the long run. I'm almost done, maybe. Wait. Yeah. This is the code to our website. Please check it out if you haven't been out there. And please share it. As said, so the standard covers all of these different components. It really looks at the whole value chain of game development. So aside from like the gameplay, we also of course look at like business travel, like basically all the scope 1 and 2 emissions. So what happens at your studio side, but actually what matters, especially like for big studios, is data centers and like the gameplay itself. I think I already mentioned that before, but we as a global industry are looking at 50 to 100 million tons of CO2 currently. And our goal is to bring these emissions down and with better data, help all developers to be to reduce their emissions and the industry emissions without spending too much time and resources. And I also wanted to say it is important to have games which talk about like a better future. It is very, very important. But I think it's also important that game developers think about how they build their games and really like measure their impact, because like what we see many times that developers are very fast to like let their players plant some trees within their game, which is great. But I think it's so important that we as an industry address the way we make games and like, the energy use of it. Here just like further supporting quotes from like industry leaders like Matthias from Cybo. They have like a game which is played by basically like 2 billion players or something, I think. And here again, it is about transparency and collaboration. The more data we have to make the games like better, the easier it will be for the whole industry to be more sustainable. Okay, I don't want to jump onto that. I really believe that it is a competitive advantage, and the European Union like started to have more regulation when it comes to sustainability. Now they were taking it a little bit back. But in 2 years, companies will have to report anyway. So starting to look at this topic and getting familiar with it really will help. Again, use the standard. Doop, doop, doo, doo. It's quite easy to use. You don't have to use the whole one. You can just pick a component which you're interested in and start with that. Reach out to us if you need help. And the other thing is like, get involved, like be part of the meetups we have. We have a really cool community talking about energy efficiency. I like just took some screenshots from like our former meetups. We have really, really good people like Are, Hauke Thiessen, G1 from Microsoft, Tommy, and so on. Like, you see all of the recordings on our website. Here's like one screenshot from like how energy efficiency affects basically the players and how much impact you can have if you improve your game, if you have a lot of players. Another quote, especially for the Finns here. And yeah. So please help us making the games industry like the most sustainable form of entertainment. Yeah, get on board and yeah, let's have another round of discussion. But that was my part at least.
Let's give an applause, but yes, discussion continues. We have also questions, so and also for feel free to put more questions and as topics even of discussion. So going back to the lack of knowledge in the production, example being game programmers not being software developers always, would SG be someone that could advise and or guide towards resources in that matter, especially again producer asking?
So what specific information was like?
So is there any kind of like, would there be any advisory or tools or anything being shared for not just the technical, as we said, because we just touched technical due to discussion, but more from the, for the producers, for example, or from other, let's say, development departments, so to say, within the production pipeline?
So we at the moment started with like information gathering for especially like developers and reporters and also like office managers. But we will add more and more information for other roles on our website. But the standard itself covers the whole value chain. So feel free to look at it and pick the part which you're like looking for. We are not looking at game content. This is something we have partners for. So like, for example, IGDA Climate Sick, they have bunch of resources when you want to think about like, what is social responsible game content or something. But like, this is not something what the SGA covers. We really want to look at like game development, distribution, and also how you run your studio.
But from your community, of course, people can, through your network, find the right people to advise. So again, join the Discord, their Discord as well, because we will be also cross-posting stuff in a sense of encouraging you to join their Discord and generally follow the website and doing this together, obviously. So yes, sorry. So I just want to say, if someone has something, raise your hand. So let's go.
I maybe also change to that slide so my board doesn't kill me. So like.
Thank you. Very interesting topic. I have a question. So if a developer optimizes their game to the point when it runs on a GPU or a CPU or a mobile device, which is like 4 or 5 years old, previous gen, it would mean that it would run in many cases on a device full of dust, breadcrumbs, and everything, which means a lot of heat, a lot of noise, a lot of energy wasted just on making it cooler. Does the organization have any intersection with the movement such as right to repair, right to maintain, to make the end users more aware of how to make their perhaps a bit outdated devices run more efficiently? Because optimization of the games is one facet on it, but the developers don't always have control on where those games run, and older consoles, older mobile phones, they would overheat and consume more energy even if optimization is top notch.
I mean, so said like we founded the Sustainable Games Alliance in August last year, and we are developing more and more information and connections. This is something which is very, very valuable because like we definitely support the usage of like old devices, because if you, yes, they eat up more energy, though the production of new devices has like causes also a lot of emissions. So if we can find ways to make older devices run more optimally, it's very, very good. So if you have the connections to this community, yes, happy to connect with them and learn more.
We are having someone typing the question or comment in the Discord. So while doing that, any other thoughts here from in person?
I mean, maybe a question then from my side. What
please.
would you need as developers to basically produce more sustainable games? Or how do you get this topic more on your agenda?
Best practices was the comment.
In what form? Because like we publish bunch of meetups. What do you want to see? What does that mean?
I guess documentation would be helpful because not everyone can probably make it to the meetups, or so that is available like 24/7. Like anything from coding to 3D art to animation, because everything can be optimized.
Yeah.
So if there would be like a Wikia or just a general like documentation, here are some good practices, for example, to get started.
Yeah, I mean, we have on our website, you find all the recordings with best practices. What we're working on is still like basically a doc overview because we're just running out of hands. Also, like if anyone wants to volunteer, we have some work to do. This is also like a topic. So yeah, cool.
Call for volunteers, yes.
I can say that easier communication with the hardware producers will make our job as game developers easier for optimizing more for energy efficiency.
Yeah, I mean, here again, like at the moment we are 34 members. It is easier to talk to platforms and hardware producers if you can say we have X developers with this demand. And I mean, in the future, we maybe will do like collecting support lists or something, but it's way easier if you can just say we have that amount of members, they have this specific goal, let's do it. So yeah.
And the comment in Discord was, after the emissions measurements, the next step is material footprint.
Yeah, I mean, we first wanted to tackle the environmental part, and of course, life cycle assessment is also like part of it. Yeah.
And Aki has been sharing all sorts of materials for optimization and performance, especially from Unity, which again will be shared forward, but they are in QA stage 1 QA chat for those who want to already check. And while we still have some people typing, I have one question, like more of a, this is far future. Okay, so this is like hope punk.
Yeah.
I'm going full hope punk, and I don't know if Inari is here. But anyway, so my PhD is actually on interactive storytelling with quantum computing. So I have been poking it with the stick, what it can do for game designers. That was the thing. And one thing that I can say, finally, in practice, what happened, especially one new company spin-off from IBM and other experts, Moth Quantum, they have managed for the first time to actually have useful use of actually live performing quantum computer in game development live on a mobile device, which also completely kicks in. So now for those who, and I'm not gonna bother you with quantum stuff. I'm not even a quantum physicist, so I'm just stupid artist / developer. So that's just for the sake of conversation. But the thing is, what is really fascinating is that basically, first of all, it's never going to be its own thing. It's always going to be a hybrid classical quantum. Like, so it's never going to be just replacing. That's far from, like, that's never, no. The thing is here that what we have seen already, but this is scratching the surface. So this might be something that might be helping in the future, this sort of hope punk part, where literally even for a split second kind of thing. We're talking about incredibly powerful machine that can do all sorts of stuff, even for few seconds connection. So it's not even about being constant, everything to run live of a computer. So think about GPU getting booster when needed, kind of thing, which might solve, because there are some scientific articles showing how this ecologically will be something for the future, for the internet, for example, for all this security banking, encrypting, like all sorts of stuff, which again is very energy consuming. So just because this has been something on my plate, kind of like seeing what other people are doing, and this is very early on, so of course we are not even near to discuss anything with platforms and engine developers and so on. But as a thought, there could be, with these emerging technologies, there could be possible, place where we could dedicate certain stuff to do something just like superpower thing, and then put it into like back and forth, because that's anyway how it works. So
I mean, I think what is important to say here is we need data, we need transparent and common ways of talking about this, and only then we can innovate. Because
Absolutely.
at the moment, especially when we look at the games industry, we are, at least I have the feeling the games industry always has been top notch. But when it comes to sustainability, at the moment we are really behind. And I would love us to see stepping up and making a change. And that can only happen if we measure what we do, we have the right data, and work together to be more efficient. So this is also part of it, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. But also a reminder for the data nerds, which I am, data is always not something, it really depends who is analyzing data and how data can be misused as well. So this is also one thing with the data that really we need to make sure that the data is used as well in a right way. There are few questions, I think, about the mobile apps. There is a question, are the mobile apps that allow you to measure the environmental impact on the app, are there those? Are you aware of any that actually do that?
We posted 2 on our Discord. I don't recall the names of it.
Okay,
would have to
there are
check
ways
it again.
so there are those, and they do. Excellent. And are there any plans to maybe through SGA as environmental, of course, sustainability is one, but it also comes from, we spoke about consumerism, we spoke about, cheaper option, basically people not being able to afford certain things in different parts of the world. So based on that, any social, cultural, financial, or generally that sort of aspects that maybe through your organization in the future would be tackled, because is this some in the bigger mission?
I mean, we started this. The standard covers at the moment the environmental part, and you cannot think sustainability without thinking about social responsibility and capitalism and so on. So this is, so when it comes to the standard, we will look at social and governmental sustainability later, because we believe that already agreeing on a standard when it comes to the environment is a big step, which will basically set the ground to address the other topics as well.
Yeah, I had a poll for the audience. So how many of you are actually looking to bring your organization into SGA right now? So yeah, if you are facing any uncertainties or doubts, no need to answer right now, but I gave a talk about this idea yesterday, that what it is to build the impact in your organization and then take it outside. So if you have any questions, you can reach out to me. So let's connect.
Thank you. No, I mean, it's really easy. You can write us an email. We have a statute on our website how we are governed. When it comes to data, what you said, who is giving out the data, that's why we set up as a nonprofit cooperative and have a governance structure which is written out. It's clear who we are owned by, who has how many votes. We have a cap of the votes. So it doesn't matter how many shares you own, the votes will be kept. So we did all of that complicated stuff, governance, to make sure that there is no greenwashing and that we can give you the best standard and the best data we can, basically.
Thank you, Maria, so much. Big applause once again.
Thank you.